Welcome to Soar Higher with Jason Ballard, a podcast developed for leaders by leaders to inspire you to reach your highest altitude possible by providing proven strategies, resources, and expert advice to accelerate your personal and professional success beyond what you thought was possible. Hey everybody, I'm Joel Weiland, and we want to welcome you back for another episode of Soar Higher with Jason Ballard. I am joined in the studio today by himself, Mr. Jason Ballard, and today we're going to be talking about working from the office, working from the home, or the new hybrid model. Welcome to the show, Jason. Welcome back.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Joel.
Man,
always a fun day.
It is. I think we're getting to know each other
A little bit.
Yeah, we're a few months into this. It's been a pleasure, my man. Been much.
You haven't cooked me dinner yet.
It's
but,
true.
You know,
It's true. I'm actually I do like to cook though.
Yeah.
I did a really good salmon and broccoli the other day.
Ooh,
a little lemon butter
nice,
sauce.
nice.
It was really, really good. I'm like 15 pounds heavier as a result, but you do what you got to do to feel good about yourself. Oh man. Well, we today we're talking about a topic that we've not really skirted around. We've just kind of touched on it just lightly in several of our different episodes. We talked a little bit about it with one of our guests, Ben, when we talked about just the new office atmosphere. We talked a little bit about it with Miss Marcy Young, who we had on last week with talent acquisition. But what we want to kind of drill down into today is kind of the question of, if we can even answer this question, is what is better? Is it better to work at home? Is it better to work in the office? Is it better to have some strange kind of hybrid? And just for a little bit of background, obviously, we're coming out of the pandemic. The first natural reaction and the first kind of big pivot that we experienced going into the pandemic was like, whoa, you can't come here because you might get sick. And, you can't give the sickness to your grandma because she might get really sick. So you got to work from home. Also, all the schools are shut down, so your kids will be there too. So there was just a massive migration of people that went from everyday working in their office to automatically trying to set up home offices at home around potentially some screaming children. So people had to get used to that. Now, about 2 years later, we're starting to breathe a little bit. People are starting to be given options. The government's restrictions are thankfully loosening up. People are basically just having the freedom to be able to make the decisions about where they want their employees to work. And we're starting to get some relevant data in about ultimately what is more productive. So I thought that maybe it would be good for us to talk about that today. But before we get into the meat, what are just some like things that you've seen over the last couple of years? Not necessarily answering the question of what's better yet, but just what led, do you think, after the exodus of the workplace, and then after we've come to the pandemic, to some of the insights that business leaders can see about this topic? What's the tension in your mind?
Yeah. Wow.
That was a lot.
We've gone through a massive transformation as a society, as a world, really, as a global, hotbed of employees, employers, and how we're working together in this global economy, going through a massive transformation. When COVID hit, everybody was nervous and in fear. Oh my God, we don't want to make people sick. We don't want to contribute to people dying and getting hurt, and all of these negative things, because it was a health pandemic. And what's more important in life than somebody's health and being alive and healthy and happy and being able to contribute? If they're not healthy, they're not vibrant, they're not able to show up to work and do great things for you at your employment organization. But they also can't live a happier life either. They can't go home and spend time with their families and just be normal, right? So we've gone through this major transformation where we're trying to figure out as a society, what do we do? Mm-hmm. We're being faced with something we can't control. There's all these unknowns. What do we do? How long is this going to last? Oh my God. So we can't come to work. What do we do? Let's go on Amazon, buy a bunch of laptops, send them out to everybody, yep. Get everybody, connected, and at least check an email, and, introduce this concept that many surprisingly didn't know was this thing called Zoom, video conferencing, Microsoft Teams, and all of these different tools. They've been out there for many, many years, but a lot of people just didn't use them. They didn't need to. Their culture wasn't built that way. Their business model wasn't built that way. And all of a sudden, we go from doing things a certain way for, decades of doing things a certain way to completely changing that up at a rocket speed. I mean, this was supersonic speed that we did this, because if you did not, you're going to go out of business. So this is like survival. Everybody went into like fight or flight mode. And now we're reeling from, and some people went out of business. Some people couldn't overcome that amount of change and the impacts that made. Many that were able to adapt a little bit and kind of fight through that and come together. One thing that positive that came out of this was people were able to come together differently, and everybody just wanted to survive and to live and not get sick and help each other. Everybody came together in this situation, and now we're at a point where we're coming out of that pandemic for the most part. What does this new normal look like? What do we do? Do we keep this? Do we not keep it? What's working? What isn't working? Are we even tracking the data on this? And who are the experts on it? Who should we listen to? Now what?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we're at.
Man, it is. Just kind of a sidebar topic. You coach a couple people internationally, right?
Well, more than a couple. Yes.
Yeah. So do you know, or do you have any insight on what working from home looked like for other countries? Because obviously we got a lot more internet in the United States of America than most other countries from what I'm aware. So do you know, or do you have any insight on how people reacted to having COVID be a very relevant, real thing in their workplace? How did that change international work?
Interesting enough, other foreign countries, whether it be South America or different parts of Europe, Asia, etc., in many ways are a little farther ahead, because those types of countries are more advanced in their thinking about freelance work. If you think about Upwork, how many people are on Upwork based from America? How many people are on Upwork from other countries? And if you compare other countries collectively against the United States, there are significantly more people around the world on one of the platforms out there. It's not the platform, but one of the more popular ones is Upwork, where they are freelance. They, freelance marketing people, freelance, design people, computer, software people, whatever that may be. A lot more open to that. And you don't need super high speed gigabit internet for that. You can go to the coffee shop and sit outside on the park bench and be close enough to the Wi-Fi signals, because most, if you live in a relatively civilized city, they've got Wi-Fi just like we do here. And as long as you got an internet signal, you can get on Upwork and you can communicate with different people that want to hire you to do different things. So in many ways, there's more openness and adaptability with that. America's, has been a little bit more traditional and conservative with some of those things, but the pandemic certainly accelerated our willingness to entertain how do we work collectively with people out, because we need people to do work. Who do we need? What kind of skills do we need? And where are they? It's not, we're kind of breaking this paradigm of, it's all got to be a local talent. If you're in places like Louisville, Kentucky, that went through a number of things from, riots and Breonna Taylor incidents and just, different things that significantly impacted going to work downtown in the business district, the availability of the talent and the willingness of the people to go downtown and re-engage, reopen up offices, there's been some reluctance, I mean, as you see on the news every night, crime is spiking up. And so people are, and people and businesses are trying to get people to come back into work. And there's hesitancy there. People don't feel safe. They wonder what's going to happen next. And there's just a lot of consternation going on in our society today around this. And so employers have to be thinking, leaders have to be forward thinking, be thinking about what do we need to be successful? What are those skills? Where are these people at? And, if we can't get the local people, because when you bring people back to work, you're saying we're only hiring local talent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if there's not enough local talent? What if a lot of local people don't want to go back into the office anytime soon? Now you're significantly, limiting your ability to fill your needs in a growing, spurring economy, trying to get back on its legs again. You need to be thinking globally about talent and how to incorporate things from different perspectives and mash that together and get what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then let's ask the question, and I kind of want to attack this from a couple different angles on which is better, the home, the office, or working hybrid. And the two levels I want to kind of hit that is from kind of more of the employer perspective. So is it better for productivity and overall efficiency of the company? And then the second is from the employee's perspective. What's better from the employee's perspective? And I think that we probably know what people prefer for sure. And I might be a little bit of a black sheep in that, and we'll talk about that. But from your perspective on the first point, what is better overall for a company's productivity and efficiency? Is it working from home? Is it working from the office? Or is it some version of in between?
Yeah. Well, I think first, there's no cookie cutter answer here, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It just depends, right? So let's first define what working in the office is.
Okay. Yeah.
So ask yourself, the audience out there, ask yourself, is working in the office today the same exact definition of working in the office before the pandemic?
I think people would assume no, but I think a lot of people haven't even had the chance to go back in the office. A lot of my friends, some of my highest earning friends are still working for big healthcare companies, working for big manufacturers, not obviously on the line, but in kind of more of an administrative role, but they're working from home still. They haven't set foot in the office in 2.5 years.
So that is point number one for leaders of companies out there looking to figure out how to establish the new norm of in the office or anything other than that. Define what that is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the employee knows exactly what those expectations are. Chances are, for most people, going back to work in the office is going to be different than it was before because employees have concerns. Is it safe? I've created this lifestyle because I had to work from home. I did have to do homeschooling on Google Classroom with my kid for a while. We have created some new norms because we had to make it through all of this stuff. Now going back to the office, how does that change things for me? Yeah. Is that going to work for me? Is that going to work for the employees? Better question for the employer is, what do your employees need in order to come back to work to be successful? Mm-hmm. If they're saying just come back to work and we'll pay you more money, more bonuses, or we offer perks and free coffee, or we'll put a daycare center on the first floor and let you make it easier for you for childcare, because childcare is still a significant challenge for people. That's good, but not solving the problem. Mm-hmm. What exactly is this new in-office environment going to be like? What does it need to be to meet the needs of the employees that can also meet the needs of the employer? And if employers have not intentionally sat down and clearly articulated that and wrapped that around their values and their culture and redefined kind of the company of the future, you're setting yourselves up to fail.
Oh, absolutely. And a quick shout out to our friend Ben Simmons. And if you listening have any questions on what that new office should look like, please go and listen to his episode on the new corporate office and what that's supposed to look like. He's a a really great architect. He's got background in architecture. Now he basically works with a big architectural firm building new schools and new office spaces for the new post-COVID
That's right.
business atmosphere. So yeah, please check out that episode a couple weeks back.
Great point. Employers, you're not a snowflake. This is not a challenge for you to go out there and solve by yourself, like, in a bubble, trying to, figure out and define what that means. There are experts out there that design buildings, lay out office, designs that will meet the needs of the future. Get with people that are experts, that are already talking about this, that have already done these types of things before. You are not the first to go through this. Why would you try to figure it out all by yourself and hope that it works and hope employees are super excited to come to work for you in your new office? What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't work? What if you're wrong in your analysis of recreating the old way of doing business again?
Yeah.
You're going to fail.
Yeah, and
can you afford to fail?
Yeah, you can't afford to lose all those people.
Bring in experts, like, and if you need help with connecting to those experts that can inform you and help you make really good decisions there, then contact us, via my website or through the show, and we'll do that for you.
One of the things I appreciate the most about you, Jason, is that you're not afraid to basically network, to give other people's names away, just showing just the like really cool network that you've been able to build.
Yeah.
Let's change to just what the some experts say, some statisticians, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's the word. You can cut that out, John Stone, if that's not a real word. But if it is, what are the statistics about people working from home versus working from the office? From what I did in just a little bit of research leading up to this recording, it seems to be, and I never thought this was going to be true, but it seems to be that at least over the last couple of years, there has been more productivity out of the people that have worked at home than the people that have come into the office. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, and a lot of, not necessarily conflicting ideas, but the data is still somewhat new, even after just a couple years. But what the data seems to say is that at least a 13% increase from people that have worked at home versus people that have returned to the office. What can you say about that? Do you agree with that? Do you think that it's true? Do you think that it's a long-term solution?
Yeah. I disagree with that number. It's higher. 70 in roles where people are able to work at home or remotely. It doesn't have to be home. It could be remotely in different ways. According to Stanford University's research that I really follow, and I tend to believe their data more than others out there, 77% increase in productivity on an equal level working from home.
That's a lot. That's almost twice as much work.
They're just more efficient.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Right? Less distractions, less interruptions, focused, concentrated efforts to do quality work the first time, not doing repeat work, not going back and fixing things and what have you. And here's why. On average, if an employee gets distracted, whether it be from a buzzing, ringing cell phone or somebody coming into their office wanting to gossip, or they go to the bathroom, they see somebody at the water cooler and they're chit-chatting, or they go for an hour and a half lunch or whatever, each time you get distracted or interrupted in your focused work, each time, the studies show it takes 17 minutes.
Wow.
For that person, after the interruption is over, after the conversation's over, after the meeting's over, whatever, after the interruption is over, 17 minutes it takes somebody to focus their mind back to what they were doing, figure out where they left off, and start being focused again to start driving productivity again and move through that. Well, when you're at the office, what's the percentage or likelihood that you're going to be distracted when you got all these people and things going on and meetings? The interesting thing about just meetings alone, there's some interesting statistics on that around 45% of the meetings that occur when people were interviewed aren't even critical meetings that need to happen. And they have meetings to have meetings to plan for more meetings, right? So when you take those elements out of the workforce, which is, something that leaders need to be thinking about when they're bringing people back to work, it can't go back to the old way. You have to define the new way. And do that more efficiently and smartly, or you're just going to revert back to less productive people that just, fall into human tendencies of just, all these people coming and going and things are happening and you're less productive. That's why when people are working from home or remotely, they are able to follow through, get more stuff done right the first time, and still stay connected to the most important. They're able to prioritize better as well. When all those factors come together, granted you're creating the environment or the right conditions for you to do that, given that you will be, or studies are showing you are more productive. I've seen that even in my own, personal life and my own family. My wife works from home. We had kids with, at home with the pandemic, just like everybody else, and everybody was more productive.
That's really interesting. And I guess I don't want to be directly the devil's advocate on this, but it just seems to me that, and obviously this would be industry specific, but it seems to me that if, going back to what you were saying earlier, if people are reimagining what the office should actually look like, because I think we can both agree that it's not what it used to be.
Nope.
Shouldn't go back to that. Shouldn't go back to, a bunch of, off-white colored cubicles where people mindlessly distract each other for 17 minutes at a time. Oh my goodness. I've had some personal experiences like that. But assuming that there's a new normal in the office space, wouldn't it be better to have the accountability of somebody directly there with you? Wouldn't it be better to have open collaboration? We talked about this concept of together alone with Ben Simmons on his episode, and that's something that just myself and the boys here in my office work with a lot, where we'll just sitting around a table working on our own thing, but there's moments here and there where there's good collaboration, and there's not the necessary steps to going through and calling someone or scheduling a Zoom call with someone to get a very small question answered. It's just extremely free-flowing and accessible. So I guess that's an opinion, obviously, and it's from somewhat of a microcosm, just from my personal experience. But I guess in your mind, where's the room for that? Where's the room for people to be able to experience the new normal in a new way in their office experience that ultimately would lead to more productivity? Not necessarily than at home, but at least to what the office atmosphere was like pre-COVID.
Yep. So the goal of a company is to achieve common goals and objectives and to get to desired results, whatever that may be that they define, right? The way to do that is through your people. Well, that's not a problem. The dynamic is people are different. Okay. So if you need people to be creative and innovative and think outside the box, if you need people to collaborate, communicate, come together and brainstorm, whiteboard, and do all those things, absolutely working together in a physical space, whether it's in a space that you rent, that you're going to hotel the rooms and schedule, whether it's, the physical building of the company and you go into there, no matter where the physical location is and whether the company's signs on the front door or not, creating an environment where those kind of people can get together and be the best they can be, challenge each other to be the best and bring out the best in them. That's the goal of a leader, is to bring out the best in everybody on the team, right? And so there are instances where you need to do a company offsite. You need to get people in a room, in a hotel room, or some, conference area in a park somewhere that's off the beaten path, or wherever, where you can create an environment of free-flowing thoughts and energy so people can really unearth the potential that you need to be brought out to brainstorm and problem solve, right? Not everybody can do that. So if you take certain people in accounting or sales or something like that, and bring them into an environment where they need to focus, details matter. They need to be meticulous, legal folks, medical folks, accountants, for example. You putting them in that kind of environment, they will not thrive. Not saying you can't bring them together and brainstorm and do some things, but you've got to know the profile of the employees and how to bring out the best in them. To get the most productive work out of an accountant, they need concentration. They need to focus. They need to really go deep into the details, just like a medical professional and a specialist, right? Orthopedic surgeons don't hang out with 40 other orthopedic surgeons all day and collaborate, right? Yeah. They go in and look at the science. They look at the medical, data that they're capturing on the patient, and they focus and specifically chart out exactly what needs to happen and do that, right? So it just depends. I think if companies think about, well, what is the work that needs to be done this week? And do we have the ability to create an environment where if we need to bring people in, we need to have face-to-face conversations. There is no better form of communication than putting people face-to-face in person. Highly, highly recommend people maximize that where it's best suited. You don't need to do that all the time. You don't, I know people that all they want to do is meet for coffee all the time and talk to people all the time, and there's zero productivity, zero results. I know tons of salespeople that go to lunch and coffee and meet people in person and talk about everything under the sun and sell nothing, right? Yeah. And so the thought of the leadership today needs to be, how do we have everything situated where different people from different backgrounds, different specialties that need different things to succeed, do we have that available? If not, what do we need to have to make that available? And then how do we best situate that so that people can go in and out of these different modes as they need to, per the situation, and be successful every day, all day?
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. I wouldn't necessarily say that you've 100% changed my mind, but I agree. I absolutely agree. Like there has to be concessions made for what the specific company needs, and there's definitely going to be times when you just got to work at the office. You just, if what you said earlier, if you're making Ford trucks, you got to show up to the Ford truck plant to make some trucks. And if you work in a creative house, much like the one that I do currently, it's usually better. But for the most part, whatever gets the job done, and whatever gets the job done, I absolutely agree, is a employee that's dialed in, concentrated, and able to focus. So second part of that question, what is best for the employee, or what does the employee prefer? Working from home, office, or hybrid. What do you think about that, and what we've learned over the last couple of years?
Well, there's a lot of discussion on this. There's a lot of hyperbole that surrounds this. This isn't about, well, the employee decided today when they got up from their sleep time that, I just I want to work from the office today. This isn't kind of willy-nilly, do what the employee wants when they want, how they want. It is an employee market right now, and there seems to be a lot of, focus on trying to make employees happy and just give them everything they want to get them to do something in your place of business so you can survive.
Yeah.
The real question, if you're an employee, is what do I need in order to be my best?
Yeah.
Are you in touch with yourself to know you, know your values, know your qualities, to know how you can best think, focus, execute, be productive, and do the things that are being asked of you as effectively and as efficiently as possible? What needs to happen for you to be able to do that? The second question for the employee is, are you communicating that with your bosses? Are they listening? Is there harmony? Is there synergy? Is there common ground where you can potentially work from home if that's best suited for some employees? Don't want to work from home. They're people, and they got to be out there with people, and they get energy from people. I'm one of them.
Yeah, same here.
When I'm around other people, man, I get fired up, and I kind of emulate energy back and forth, and just, I fire on different cylinders. A lot of people are that way, but many people are not. Some people need to be around people, be a part of the discussion, to round the discussion out, on how to problem solve or how to move a project forward. But they also need, like you were mentioning, that quiet space where they can go back, think through it the way they need to think through it, that makes sense to them, put that in a tangible way where they can execute, them and their team and their colleagues can execute through that efficiently.
Yeah.
And so if you're an employee out there, think about those two questions and sincerely write those things down and have an honest conversation with your employer about, man, this is my personality. This is how I think the best. This is how I think the clearest. This is what I need for me to hit on all cylinders all the time. I may go, some people I know they'll go 10 hours a day nonstop, go, yeah. And then about 2-3 o'clock on Friday, they crash. And then you're done. Let the employee go start their 3-day weekend. Like, well, that's not fair. Not everybody else gets a 3-day weekend. Well, not everybody produced what they produced in the first 4 days of the week either, right? And so what do you need to thrive and be, reach your full human potential and be in sync? Have honest conversations about that, and then actually follow through and do that. If you broker these arrangements with your employer and then you don't produce and you're not accountable and you're not reachable and the performance expectations upon you aren't being met, then there's misalignment. You've got to come back together and figure out, okay, you said this is how you thrive. We set you up to do that, and you're not doing that. Yeah. So where is this going to come back together here?
So wrapping up and driving this back to our just main question for the episode, Jason, in your mind, based off of all this discussion, based off of the things that we've talked about in previous episodes, what is better, working at the office, working from home, or some hybrid version of the two?
I think the question is, it's not a matter of one versus the other. It's a matter of which is better for a particular department, a particular group, particular person, for them to operate at optimal levels as an individual, achieving their own personal career goals and objectives, and that of the employer as well. And so I would challenge leaders to really challenge yourself, be very introspective, very open and honest about how you are organizing the company, the culture of the company, the values of the company. Is it representing truly where the company's going? And have you aligned your resources accordingly and provided that umbrella of capabilities, whether it's in the office or, another rented out suite down the road that people can share, or at their home office or what have you. Have you set people up for success? If you focus on those things and you actually go to the employee and ask them, what do you need to be successful, to truly, truly maximize your potential? Focus on those things. There's common ground. And once you establish that, you'll get in a rhythm with everybody that will create an unstoppable force. People will not just jump ship and chase another dollar, because then they're connected on a deeper level. They know you care. They know they're making an impact. But it takes leadership. It takes a new way of thinking. As a leader, do not think, how do we go back to the way it was? Think, what is the new way we need to be thinking?
Yeah.
And challenge yourself to get out of those comfort zones and define and stay committed to what is necessary to thrive and compete and move the company forward, and allow the employee to make an impact. The employees of today just don't want to clock in and clock out and do a job. They want to make an impact. They want to be a part of something where they feel at the end of their career they made a difference. Connect those dots, you'll have a winning team.
Man, amen to that. And just a small follow-up to what you said, a challenge for the employees, like exactly what Jason was saying. This is not about just being able to work in your sweatpants, 24/7. This is an opportunity for you to excel and reach that next level by essentially removing distractions, being in a place, in an environment where you can be the best you can be, where you can produce the kind of work that'll either take you to the executive sphere, the next level in your own company, or just better you as a human being. Jason, that's some excellent advice. Well, friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soar Higher with Jason Ballard. As always, please follow us on the interwebs. All of our links to our social channels will be in the show notes. Please hit us up there. We want to hear from you. If you have something that you want us to hear, something to hear us talk about or discuss, whether it be kind of high level or just a really practical question, please reach out to us. We'd like to know. If you're interested in learning more about Jason and his work as a business and executive coach, you can find all of that information. Some great resources. I just subscribed to Jason's newsletter last month, and I'm loving it. I'm eating that stuff up. So absolutely go to his website. That's going to be soarhighercoaching.com. And then, of course, join us next week as we provide more insight on how to overcome the latest business and career challenges people are facing in the workforce today. We'll see you next time.